Hello and welcome. So today we're going to be replacing the battery in this iPod Nano 2nd Gen. And now some people say these iPods are unfixable, but that's definitely not the case. They are, although quite fragile, it's definitely still possible to replace the batteries on these things, and I'm going to show you exactly how today. So I have done a full in-depth repair guide for this model before, which you can see here, which goes over more than just the battery replacement, but that video is quite dated now, so I thought I'd do another little one, but just specifically showing the battery. So yeah, let's get into it. So to open it up, we've got to take off both the top and bottom plastics, which are just held on with adhesive, and the best way to take those off is with a sharp blade. So today I'll be using this X-Acto knife, but you could also use a box cutter blade, or I generally wouldn't recommend using plastic tools because although they won't scratch the paint of the rear housing, they're not thin enough to really get in there, and you might end up damaging the plastic more than you would have damaged the housing using a metal blade. So yeah, that's why I like to just do it like this, because these blades are very thin and you can just get right in there and pry it up without really doing that much damage. I guess you can sort of see there a bit of a scratch, but it's not going to be very visible after we put the thing back together. And yeah, again, you would have done more damage to the plastic had you used a plastic tool, so I think that's the cleanest way to get it open. Right, now at the bottom you see we got one screw here. Just undo it like this. I'll have a link to this electric screwdriver in the description as well if you want to check that out. They're semi handy for repairs like this if you do them often. And now yeah, just two screws at the top as well. Yeah, should keep these screws sort of separated here on our parts tray, because they are sort of different sizes. So now to take the internals out, all we got to do is lift up our headphone jack like this and just lift it out. Be careful not to snap this little white bit of plastic off when you're doing that. And now you have to unclip the flex cable is connected to the logic board with a bit of a connector in there, which is hard to see with this lighting, I know. I'll try and make it visible. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see, I guess. You can sort of see it there. But yeah, so to get that out, all you got to do is grab your tweezers and just lift it up like that, and you'll see it and hear it unclip. Alright, now I like to sort of lift this top piece up here as well. This has the lock switch attached to it, and it's connected via a slim flex cable, so you want to be careful with this top piece as to not rip it off, because then you'll lose your lock switch functionality. So now to push this logic board out of the iPod, all you got to do, put your tweezers in where the 30-pin port is, and then just push it. Yeah, if you're seeing that flex cable for the headphone jack gets stuck, you can use your tweezers to lift it off, because if you keep pushing it when it's stuck, you can rip that headphone jack flex cable. And then yeah, just continue pushing the rest of the internals out like that, and there we go. Now we got our internals out. Yeah, and another thing with this design, as you can see, this is one singular piece of aluminium, and if you had an expanded battery, that would be very difficult to push out at that stage, if not impossible. But what you can actually do is just put a small puncture in the battery and deflate it, and then it'll just come out as normal. I know a lot of people don't like to do that because the batteries have all these, well, this one doesn't, but a lot of the batteries will have warnings about puncturing and burning them and stuff, and how it can be dangerous and cause fires. But well, I've done a full video explaining everything you need to know about that, so you can check that video out here. But yeah, you can put a slight puncture in the top and deflate it pretty much safely. It's only really if you get the positive and negative sides inside the battery touching each other where it's going to combust in a big fireball or something. So yeah, as I said, you can check out this video here for more information on that. But yeah, you can actually just pop the expanded batteries and slide them out as usual without much risk at all. And then that'll save you a lot of different components and stuff, because the only other way to get it out would be to pretty much just break something, break the housing, break the screen, which is no good, and then you have to replace a lot more parts. So yeah, now on to replacing the battery. So as you can see, pretty much everything has come out in one piece together. So the next thing I would like to do is remove the screen, which can be done using a box cutter blade or something, and then we just have to separate. So as you can see, there's like a metal frame in there. You just have to separate the screen from that metal frame because it's just held on with adhesive. So just using a box cutter blade going in from behind. And just slicing it like that. And there we go. Now we can disconnect our LCD screen just by lifting up that little latch there, that black piece on the LCD connector, and then it'll just slide out like that. Put that off to the side for now. Now we got the battery here, and we can lift that up with this box cutter blade. Yeah, just try not to like puncture it or go through it or anything. Alright, now I like to lift this piece of the frame up as well at this stage, because that'll give us something to position our battery when we go to solder our new one on. Alright, now over to the soldering iron to replace the battery. Alright, so after desoldering the old battery like so, we can grab our new battery. And I should mention at this stage, not all aftermarket batteries are created equal. Some of them are thicker than others, and that is bad. If it's too thick, you'll have a hard time getting it back into the housing. So probably the most important thing about doing a battery replacement in an iPod Nano 2nd Gen is making sure you get one that is of the correct dimensions. The ones I sell on my website are exactly these ones, which I have found are the best. So maybe just go for one that looks like this, or just buy one directly from me so you know you're getting the right thing. But I have had plenty of iPod Nano 2nd Gen batteries in the past that are they're too thick, and then it makes the repair a lot more difficult, if not impossible. So yeah, another thing you can do, as you can see, all this printing here is just on a sticker, and if we take this sticker off, we can gain an extra, I don't know, 0.5 millimeter of space, which doesn't sound like much, but in an iPod like this, we need all the extra space we can get. So yeah, just take the sticker and just peel this straight off. If you do take the sticker off, make sure you leave this Captain tape on though as well, because that covers over some of the electrical connections and will prevent it from shorting out on the rest of the iPod. But before we actually go and solder that in, we want to get rid of all this black gunk stuff. It's like a rubbery silicon type of material that covered over all the old leads on the old battery. We just want to scrape all that off and make sure it's nice and clean. So I do that with the tweezers, but when you are scraping it off, don't scrape too hard, because if you scrape the traces on the logic board, you might damage something. Alright, there we go. Now, once we got that clean up, we can apply some flux paste. And before I actually solder the battery in, what I like to do, just put a bunch of new solder on all three of these pads here. Alright, and now we just grab the wires and we thread them through whilst heating up the blob of solder. I found this is the best way to do it. You could also use something like Solder Wick, remove all the solder that was there originally, and then just put all the wires through and then solder them later. But I found on this model it's better to just do it like this. So black first, but I might do this holding them with the tweezers, so I find that a bit easier. So red in the middle and then white on the very inside one. There we go. Now once we got that, we can fold this metal frame piece back over. And when you fold this back over, you want to double check for any bits of rubber or solder or anything that's gotten in between here and here, because if there's something in there, it can prevent this thing from sitting properly again, which could lead to some sort of issues. Alright, and now grab your battery and fold that back over and put that into position, and you'll see these wires are sticking up, so you just want to tuck them down in there and get them to sit in the original position like that. Alright, now flip this thing over. We're not done yet, we've got to clean up this side now. So what we want to do here is make sure these wires aren't sticking through so much and that they're not pointy and everything. These look alright, but what I like to do is just touch them up again with the soldering iron and sort of push them down. Now after we've done that, you can just clean up all that extra flux paste that's in the area there. We can do that using a cotton bud and some isopropyl alcohol. So just give it a spray and then wipe down the area and get all that flux paste off. Alright. Once all the isopropyl alcohol is dried up there, what we can do is we can put a bit of Captain tape over those solder joints, because there was Captain tape there originally, and if you don't, then they can short out on the inside of the housing. Here we go, like that. Alright, now back to reassembling it. Alright, let's grab this one, grab the screen. I'll peel off the Captain tape that's on there from the factory, and we'll put some more on later. You can plug the screen back in and fold that down into position. Make sure it's sitting straight. If it's on a bit of an angle, it will be on a bit of an angle when you slide it back in as well, unfortunately. Alright, and now let's get some Captain tape here. And you can place that over the LCD flex like this, and that'll just stop any issues when we go to slide this back together. It'll keep it in place. Alright, so that is the next step now, to slide the iPod back into the frame. But if we were to just do this straight up like how we've got it right now, this foam around the screen is gonna like roll up and create marks all over the screen. So what I like to do is remove it. Another thing you can do is put a piece of paper in between the screen and the housing, and that way this foam won't create marks all over the screen. But I found it's better to just remove this piece of foam here. because otherwise the chance of getting marks from this sticky side underneath all over the screen is just too high, and it'll look too ugly. So you can grab a microfiber cloth or something at this stage and give the screen a proper wipe down. Just get all your fingerprints or any residue or anything off it. Alright, there you go. I'm happy with that. Now let's slide this back in. Make sure your Captain tape is down, because that can create marks on the screen as well. There is some stuff underneath. If you've got any bits of dust under here, you can use cotton bud with some alcohol on it. Just give it a wipe. Should be good. Alright, now just sliding this in here. Oh, what's that? We got something on the screen. Yeah, getting this in with nothing on the screen can actually be the hardest part of this whole repair, to be honest. Making sure there's no dust and all that. Alright, here we go. If you feel it getting stuck, just give it a wiggle from side to side. And what is that? More marks on the screen. Alright, it's turned itself on there. We have to get this on charge pretty much right away. Yeah, and as you're pushing that in, if it gets stuck, most likely it's gotten stuck on this bit of metal at the bottom. So to fix that, you can just put your tweezers in the 30-pin port and push them, and you'll hear a click, and then you can push it in the rest of the way. Another thing you want to check for is that this headphone jack flex cable isn't getting completely bent as you're pushing it back in as well. There is stuff under the screen, obviously. You're never going to get it perfect, but it's good enough. As long as there's no big chunks of dust or hair under it, it should be all good. Now putting that headphone jack back in, clipping it into the logic board. Alright, I should show that actually. Yeah, so to clip your headphone jack flex back in, first make sure it's lined up and in the correct position, then grab your tweezers. I like to use the flat-headed tweezers or whatever. Get it on top of the connector and just push down. Yeah, and you do want to make sure it's in the right position before you start trying to clip it in, because if you force it down and it's not in the right position, you're just going to mush up the connector, and then the whole thing's going to be completely screwed. You'll have to either replace the headphone jack flex cable or get a new logic board if you completely destroy that connector. Once that's in, you can just push the headphone jack back in like so. Slide that all the way in. Now at this stage we should screw that in as well. So getting our screw out, it's the biggest screw if you have mixed them up, and just screwing that in. Now we're doing our 2 screws at the top as well. 1, 2. Alright, now before we adhere our top and bottom plastics, now's a good time to just test everything. So as we saw earlier, this one probably needs to get on the charger right away. Yeah, just plug this in and get it charged up. Alright, so I'll let that charge up for a little bit, and it now appears to be all working. All the buttons click. Let's do the headphone jack quickly. Seems to be all good. Now we can just reassemble this thing by putting the top and bottom plastics back on. So there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can either use double-sided tape as adhesive, or you could use a glue. And if you do opt for a glue, I would use this one, B7000. It's just good for phone repairs and stuff. It's not so strong that you won't be able to get it back off, but it'll be on there pretty firmly. When I first did it, I usually used to use double-sided tape, but I found it wasn't that strong. It wasn't as strong as the original stuff, and sometimes they could fall off over time, particularly the bottom one. If it gets caught in like the headphone jack or in the cable when you go and unplug it, sometimes the plastic could rip off as well. So that's why I prefer a bit of a stronger adhesive these days. If you do want to use double-sided tape, this is my favorite double-sided tape for phone repairs, 3M. I think I used that in my first tutorial, so if you prefer to use tape, just go watch my first tutorial that I did on this iPod. Yeah, but in terms of the B7000 glue, just do like this. You don't need to use a ridiculous amount, just like that, and then put it on. And if any leaks over the sides, just wipe it off. Most likely some will leak into the headphone jack or the charging port, so you can just use your tweezers to scrape that clear. Should be all good. Alright, now we can do the top piece as well. Yes, as I said before, this one wasn't in the best condition, the one that came on the iPod. Looks a bit scratched up, so I'll just replace it with a different one. It's not perfect condition either, but it's better than the one that was on it. So just peeling off the old stuff. Give it a wipe with alcohol. Now we can apply some more adhesive, some more glue I mean. Now you want to make sure you don't get any glue in the lock switch mechanism, so just put a bunch over there, and then on this side you want to put some on this part, and then it's just a tiny amount on the sides here. Alright, that should be good. Make sure this lock button's in the correct position with the red thingy there. Alright, there you go. And there we have it. Now ideally we would want to wait 12 to 24 hours for the glue to dry on these before considering that done. But there we go. We have fixed our iPod Nano 2nd Gen with new battery. And yeah, this one does need to sit and charge for a bit longer. But anyways, if you liked the video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel. Hope you're able to use this to get your old iPod Nano 2nd Gen back up and running. But if you thought that looked too hard and you'd prefer to just send it in and get me to do it, you can book a mail and repair over here on my website. So yeah, I make plenty of videos like this on all different types of iPods. So if you want to see more tutorials on how to fix other models or how to add Bluetooth to your iPod, yeah, just hit subscribe, go on my channel, check out some of my other videos. Thanks for watching, see you next time, and bye.